AP students, this is Mrs. Politsky, and I have your short answer questions for Chapter 4, Sensory and Perception. And we're going to be looking at questions 16 through 24. And as we go along, make sure that you're writing down the information that you need. So, number 16, stimulus-driven processing is known as bottom-up processing, while conceptually driven processing is known as top-down. The best way I can kind of remember this is when we talk about bottom-up processing, that is taking in the raw stimuli and trying to make sense of it. And top-down processing is like things that we have previously experienced and things that we have kind of knowledge of or expectations of. In other words, we're using our brain that's at the top and trying to make sense of the things that are happening around us. Number 17, briefly explain why as a door opens, we do not perceive it morphing into something other than a door. And part of that is perceptual constancies. We experience these perceptual constancies in order to move more efficiently to evaluate the world in which we live in. Therefore, a door opening would remain the same in its shape, size, and color. And in a way, it's kind of like using the top-down processing. Most of us have all seen doors. We kind of have an idea of the shape of that. If the door would be something other than a rectangular shape, certainly that would kind of cause us to have some kind of illusion. Number 18, briefly explain the difference in how Gestalt and learning-based inferences may influence our perceptions. And Gestalt, for the most part, believes that it is innately learned. In other words, it's something that we're born with. While learning-based inferences suggest the idea of nurturing or our environment, learning in our given environment that allows us to perceive the world as we do. So Gestalt, it's something that, again, we're born with. It's in our DNA. Our genes are predetermining some of the ways that we interpret information. But as far as learning-based inferences, it's because we've been exposed to it over a period of time. And we've kind of developed our expectations from that. Number 19, what does Gestalt mean? It basically is a German term, but if you try to interpret that term, it means that the whole is larger than the sum of its parts. And the Gestalt principle of closure makes you see figures as incomplete and studies the missing edges beyond the gaps and barriers. Our brain loves the idea of trying to make sense of the world by closing the gaps. And there are occasionally items that are out there in our environment that are incomplete, but our brain wants to interpret it as a complete item. Number 21, if I see members of a baseball team waiting for their game to start, all wearing the same uniforms and huddled together talking to one another, I am likely to use the Gestalt principles of similarity, because of the uniforms and maybe the colors, and proximity, because of the closeness, to see them as part of the same team. Number 22, the visual cliff, created by experimenters Gibson and Walk, demonstrates children's ability to detect depth. It's all about depth perception. And if you remember, that's the plexiglass table that has the kind of the gingham or checkered stripes pattern. And for some reason, after a certain age, we kind of develop a certain perception, and we're kind of scared of falling off the edge. Whereas before we develop that depth perception, we're more likely to crawl across the plexiglass. Number 23, if I see two houses that are of the same size, the one that is actually further away will be perceived to be larger than the other house. Number 24, when somebody tells you that you have been singing the wrong words to a song and actually tells you what the correct words are, the next time that you hear the song, you're likely to hear the correct words. Your friend has created for you a what? And that would be a perceptual set. Thank you very much.